Hello, everyone. My name is Andy Nowicki, as you probably know, and today I am very happy to be joined by one Johnny Monoxide. Johnny Monoxide is the host of the Paranormies. That's a post that he's had for many years. When did the Paranormies start, Johnny? When did it start up?
Well, what's happening first?
Yep.
I've been doing the Paranormies.
Very good. Hi. Good to meet you. Good to talk to you. Yes. So much for greetings. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. We've been Facebook friends like off and on. I don't do Facebook anymore because I'm not allowed. But,
Yeah, me too.
we were Facebook friends like quite a long time ago when I used to do all the Facebook stuff.
We both got zooked.
Many times.
Yeah, well, I got permanently zooked. I, along with everything having to do with alternative right, which became affirmative right after that, that was, gosh, maybe back in 2017 or so.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I started doing the Paranormies back in 2016, and
okay.
I've been through several iterations of co-hosts along with me. But it's been me the whole time, and then like a rotating chair of other guys.
And
fourth iteration, I'm like Dave Mustaine in Megadeth.
Very good.
Except I'm not an asshole. I'm not the asshole like Dave.
That's right. And when you started out, of course, you were part of the Right Stuff, the TRS, or also known as the Right Stuff empire, or whatever you want to call it. Their whole fleet of
work. Yeah. Well, at first we weren't. At first we weren't. We were around their sphere. Like we were trying to get on the network. Like everybody wanted to be on the network. They wanted to be the next podcast to be put on the Right Stuff network. They had a website
around that time, wasn't it? Like 2015, 2016.
16, yeah, was when the content, like, excuse me, they started going after like content creators, like to get them, to produce more content. They had their forum, the 50 forum, and they were asking people, that people would submit skits and stuff like that, and they put the skits together in a show called Saturday Night L'Chaim, which is like their Saturday Night Live ripoff. And from there, it was like other people started doing different podcasts. There was one from Australia, there was one from England, and the ones from England were risking the hate speech issues.
Yeah.
So like a couple of them got doxxed, and one of them almost went to jail. Two of them almost went to jail. One of my old co-hosts was a British guy who almost got himself into quite a bit of bad stuff for saying naughty things, on the internet.
Yes, as did you, as I remember, but not you didn't almost get jailed, but you.
Oh yeah, I got doxxed. I got doxxed quite a bit. Well, because I did Charlottesville, and I was supposed to be a speaker at Charlottesville.
We were.
Yeah, I wore a suit. Those guys were clowns. They were like, I was supposed to give a speech, and because I was supposed to give a speech, I became like persona non grata everywhere. I was basically doxxed on national news, but mostly the main California stations. It was pretty big.
Right.
And yeah, that was after Charlottesville. But the podcast, I've been doing the podcast since 2016. And
so, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, we were on YouTube. We had approximately 5,000 or 7,000 subscribers, and we were on like our 5th or 6th episode. And then I believe we were allowed to be hosted on their network. So we put our podcast on their network. And after that, we were just, we were the Paranormies. We were on TRS. We also had our own website. I've had the paranormies.com website since 2017. And so we've always had like our own thing, but we've been known as, we're the conspiracy podcast on the spoopy podcast on the Right Stuff. And we always,
right.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you about that. I want to ask you several things about how you came to be a quote unquote conspiracy theorist. This sure. term that's gotten to be more and more, seen as as an insult or as I don't know. It's interesting to see the evolution of that term because 15, 20 years ago, it was really not. I mean, you were sort of an oddball if you were a conspiracy theorist, but you weren't just reviled, and you weren't just seen as I don't know, an enemy of this, an enemy of society, and a domestic terrorist, or anything at all like that. That there's really been this evolution of this evolution towards the revilement of the so-called conspiracy theorists. So,
well, they've definitely turned it into a pejorative now. It's like,
yeah, absolutely.
We hear the term conspiracy theorist, and everybody's eyes glaze over. The Pavlovian effects kick in. The eyes start glazing over. People start rolling their eyes, the arms crossed, and they start looking like they're completely tired of the conversation, and you're not to be. They're just, oh God, you're one of those.
Yeah, they turn off their brains, essentially, which is what it was intended to be from the start, as I understand it. I mean,
it's another the MK Ultra, whatever the mind control programming that the CIA or whoever you want to call them has been running on civilization since God knows how long.
Right, at least since the 50s.
Right.
But maybe.
Well, I mean, the documents have been exposed. They were released. They're totally, those are the real documents. You have to trust us. Yeah, all that stuff. I don't believe any of that stuff. I have a hard time believing any of that.
You don't believe that it's over? You mean you don't believe when Clinton came out in 1993 or whatever and said this was a shameful time, but it's over now. We don't do these things anymore. You don't.
Right. And we don't. We're embarrassed that we did it. We're sorry. We won't do it again. We spent billions on it, but we're done. Promise. Sorry about that. Sorry.
And you can trust us because we're the
government.
Yeah. Well, the term conspiracy theorist, I think, was always meant to get people to turn off their brains, and I think, as I understand it, it was something that the CIA came up with in response to people who had alternative explanations for what happened to Kennedy and Dealey Plaza. So they were the ones who first started floating the term conspiracy theorist or something along those lines to try to discredit people who were seeking alternative, let's just say more parsimonious explanations of certain events than the official story. But it's but even then I would say through and I think we're about the same age. I'm 51.
Yeah, I'm a little still. So yeah, we're right there. Gen X. Born in the 70s, raised in the 80s, late teens and in the early 20s and the 90s. We got all the hard programming.
That's right. That's right. We were there. We were there for all of it. And I'm remembering, in the 90s when Mel Gibson had his movie Conspiracy Theory, he played this character who was he was eccentric, he was weird, he had strange beliefs, but he was also kind of lovable, and it turned out that he was actually right about something or other, and and so he could be a conspiracy theorist and still be a good guy. In 1997.
Mel Gibson. There's also Mel Gibson, and that just made every female. He was Australian. He had the blue eyes. He was hot.
That helped.
That always helps, right?
Yeah, but I think that
most of us don't look like Mel Gibson, though. So.
That's true. Unfortunately, I mean, I don't know what you look like, but I know what I look like.
Oh,
not like Mel.
Not like Mel Gibson.
Nothing like Mel. But I would also say that regardless of how good looking the person is, I would say that I don't think a movie like Conspiracy Theory would be made today because it would be necessary to show the conspiracy theorist in a much more negative light today. In the 90s, the people were more tolerant of conspiracy theorists, and I'd say over the past 2 decades, maybe ever since 9/11, maybe that's the demarcation point. I don't know. But it's certainly gotten worse and worse. And in the last 4 or 5 years, it's reached a fever pitch, where if you're a conspiracy theorist, you're you're just the lowest of the low. I mean, you're a criminal. You're a domestic terrorist.
The movies.
So
The last Godzilla versus King Kong or whatever it was, the conspiracy theorist guy was a crazy black dude who listened to crazy conspiracy podcasts on the internet. It's like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
very much like, hey, wait a minute, I know that guy.
that's right.
Who had like a real job. He had like a real job and a side job. He was like the conspiracy podcast guy.
Yeah, that's true. And he wasn't such a bad guy as I recall. So maybe that's an exception.
No, they just make him goofy. Now they're just like goofy weirdos. Like the conspiracy guy's always like goofy weirdo. In real life, though, the conspiracy guy is everybody. He's your uncle. You know, he's that terrible uncle of yours who comes to Thanksgiving just to ruin everybody's time. You know, that's
right.
That's what conspiracy theorists do now. See, conspiracy theorists are the ones who got us into all this COVID crap. If it wasn't for them, they would put their masks on and everybody would be fine.
Yes,
like,
and they would all get their shots, and then we'd be
Conspiracy theorists just go along with everybody else. Everything would be fine. Right.
So now there's a couple things I want to cover with regard to you and the Paranormies, because when you started out, when you became a part of the TRS network, you the general vibe among TRS was very anti-conspiracy theory, right?
Oh, they did not like. Yeah, they don't like conspiracy theories. One of the first episodes we talked about was the moon. We didn't talk about it. I mentioned in the episode that it's like second or third episode that the moon landing might be fake and we'd have to look into it.
Right.
Two of the other guys, the original guys, were like, Johnny, we don't talk about that. That's white achievement. You don't shit on white achievement around here, son. You know, I'm like, you guys know that, but literally every single person that worked on the Apollo thing was Jewish. But you know, by all means. Anyway, in the media apparatus, everything about it was Jewish.
Yeah.
But let's trust them.
But the astronauts themselves were probably. The astronauts themselves, I'm guessing.
33rd degree Masons, totally white. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So you were kind of like a black sheep already, because you were a show that was about conspiracies, or about not necessarily conspiracies, but just about weird stuff, paranormal stuff, you know, stuff that can't be explained. You know, and you were investigating things like I don't know if you ever had a Bigfoot show or if you were ever, or anything like that, or the Loch Ness monster, but just you know,
definitely. Oh yeah, we did Skinwalker Ranch. We did some of our best shows were the paranormal stuff, the Missing 411, Skinwalker Ranch. The Skinwalker one was actually pretty scary.
Yeah,
a lot of good cryptid episodes. You know, and again, like that kind of stuff is tolerated a little more because it's just general weirdo stuff, and cryptids are fun, and everybody loves to talk about skinwalkers. But once you start talking about, like, you know, more in-depth things to like 9/11, you know, at the very beginning, TRS was very much if you mentioned Israel having anything to do with 9/11, you were laughed at. Mike Enoch, even, like, there's a famous set of posts that go around that it's some comments from him on Facebook where he said that if you say Israel had anything to do with 9/11, you're just as bad as the terrorists or something like that. Because at the time, you know, we needed the allowable racism of, you know, being able to talk about, you know, Arabs, right? You know, be able to talk about Arab terrorists. That we were given permission to talk about the ragheads, you know.
Right.
So saying anything about, you know, even talking about the dancing Israelis or anything to do with the gold moving out of you know 9/11 or out of Twin Towers or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You know, or what was the Israeli company that warned their employees?
There's them. I don't remember off the top of my head, but we've done so many. Our last episode we did, we went and broke down the September Clues videos, and basically 9/11, much like every other large event in history that you've seen on your television, was simply a media hoax. An event like there was like everything you saw. The problem with 9/11 that we decided was discovered is that everybody comes at it from the wrong angle because nobody's looking at any real footage. None of that footage is real. None of it. So that's you start off on a false premise. But anyways, any of that kind of talk got you kicked, like kicked to the curb almost. John Friend from the Realist Report, who's now he is an editor, either the editor in chief, I believe, of the Barnes Report. So, a great magazine. But the Barnes Review, excuse me. But he was in the highly coveted, he had a spot in the highly coveted the Right Stuff Facebook group, the secret Facebook group. I finally managed to make it in there, and it was like, oh man, I'm in here with Mike and Sven and Cool and Bulbasaur, and all the cool guys are in here, and they're just regular nerds. Like, they're literally just libertarian nerds that were coming to terms with like racism, and or at least that's what it seemed like. But right. John Friend was in there, and he was talking about 9/11 truth, and he got kicked out. Like they kicked him right the fuck out. They're like, no, we can't have any of this kind of stuff. So we have, and so the censorship with TRS started like at the very beginning.
Yeah.
So anytime I would come up with like conspiracy stuff, they would laugh. Johnny's funny. Johnny's a funny guy. I love Johnny. He's a great guy, but man, his theories are a little out there.
Yeah, and you're not really white, right? Because you're Italian.
Well, he's Italian, so he's one of those spaghetti Negroes. Yeah.
Right. That was something I didn't know about before I heard your interview on. Remind me his name again.
Billy Corn Pop.
Yes.
Guillermo Vasquez. Yeah.
Yeah, I will provide a link to that interview because it was good. It was very entertaining and very enlightening.
Also, I did the kill stream with, if you want to go back, if you want to like hear like a little bit more shit posty version of an interview, but I did an interview with Ethan Ralph of the kill stream, and we had a special caller in, Mr. Wanglin, called in, and that was fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mentioned.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, that was
just what is his take on all of this stuff?
Well, he seems to think that there's something going on, that like there's no way that they could be leaking as many subs and like doing as god awful content as they're doing and still manage to be able to provide incomes for 4 or 5 different families. So that there's got to be somebody else that's providing the money to come up with all this dumb shit that they keep saying. So
this is about TRS now.
Yeah, the seed oil guy, like all their seed oil is shilling it. One of the guys apparently, who owned the barn where NJP started, where it's hatched or whatever, is a bigwig at some seed oil company. So they think that there's some sort of backing, because they're not. There's no way they're making it on their content alone.
So are you alleging there's a glowy aspect to TRS?
Everybody's been saying that for a while. I don't know. Like, if you stand 1,000 yards back and look at everything, from Mike being the only one dismissed from the lawsuit by doing simple discovery. Discovery is like that's like first grade stuff for lawyers. That's like the most basic thing that you get is discovery. He just was so annoying with his repetitively asking for discovery that they just kicked him. The queen of activist lawyers, Roberta Kaplan, just was so flustered by the discovery that Mike Panovich kept coming at her with it. She was just like, I can't take it. Get rid of him. From there and everything else, and looking at everything else and the way that their content has changed, and the way that, like, in bringing in Eric Stryker and what Eric Stryker has done to the brand, and how like their message has changed because of that. I don't know if it's glowy or if it's just like a psychopathic narcissist taking control of everything or something. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why Stryker has the control that he does, but he does. And since he came around, TRS is completely different. So is he glowy? I don't think so. I know people that have known him for 20 years, and he's just a retarded communist, is what I was told.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I don't know, and I don't know all of these personalities. It's a very, it's a very intricate and complicated set of it's something I don't know really the half about. And it sounds like there's a lot of drama.
They're very much.
It's
like very high school drama too, and that's the worst part. Is like the more like these guys want to change. When we take power, like dude,
Yeah.
you got like high school drama. You can't even get past that. You're when we take power.
Yeah.
I don't trust you with the remote for the TV. You're not getting the button.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's part of like that was so much of the alt-right was just the stupid kind of food fight or this sort of jockeying for position. I mean, that was Richard Spencer and others others seem to be always just Greg Johnson and other. I not to name drop or anything, but I had some involvement with Richard for a little while, of course, writing for alternativeright.com and being on a podcast with him for a while. Yeah, so but it's just amazing how everything just splintered, and like the instant that people tasted the possibility of achieving some kind of breakthrough success.
Yeah.
With Trump, I guess, which I don't know if that was ever realistic to begin with. But like in 2015 and 2016, a lot of them were saying, "Look, Trump is our guy," and we're Richard said we memed him into the White House or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, there was definitely that. There was a large part of the alt-right was like, we did this. It was because of us, because of 10,000 shit posters in their Pepe avatars.
Yeah.
We managed to get a meme president into office, even though I mean, like literally everything about Donald Trump fits in with this beast system completely, 100%. Like everything about him, from his family, both sides of his family. I mean, the guy, I mean, like he's down with the Zionist agenda. He's down with the Bolshevik agenda. He's also down with the trans agenda. He likes trannies so much he bought the Miss Universe pageant. You know what I mean? Like the guy is involved in all of the Hollywood. Talk about Hollywood. He's been on The Apprentice for what, 25 years?
Right.
I mean, like Donald Trump is the system. If anybody thought that bloviating retard was going to fix anything, right?
Oh yeah, that was what was so strange to me.
We all went along with it. We did. Even me, Mr. Conspiracy Theory. It would be mostly because it was like, Johnny, just shut up. Let people have fun. He's winning. He's doing fascist things. Of course, he understands Jews. He's had to work around them in Manhattan for his whole life. He's got to really hate them too. Yeah, I'm sure his entire family's married off to them.
Well, yeah, and I remember Trump from. I mean, since we're the same age, I remember Trump from the '80s. The sort of, big mogul celebrity. Always a beautiful woman on his arm. Married 5 times or whatever. Like
right.
Just, that was the Trump that I remembered from the '80s and the '90s, who was basically apolitical. And then suddenly there was this reincarnation of Trump in like 2015, where he became he came to represent this whole different sort of thing. It was really curious to me. I think I was maybe the only Trump skeptical person on the quote unquote alt-right at the time. And although I guess maybe there were a few others, but I was just sort of thinking to myself, isn't this the same guy who was, who, as you said, was doing The Apprentice on NBC, who was was on Lifestyles of the Rich and the Famous, and in the '80s, who was doing bits with David Letterman, and just this entirely mainstream figure. And now he's become something else. Like, I don't know. It just
the '80s Donald Trump was the setup for the 2000s Donald Trump. They had to get nostalgia. They had to get that nostalgia back there, because remember he was in Home Alone 2, and he was in this, and he was on The Simpsons, and he was on the right.
Yeah.
You got to get the member berries. You got to get, kick in.
Yeah.
Remember that? Remember Donald Trump when he did that? Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Is that that's like the 4D chess interpretation of?
Yeah. They set Donald Trump up back then to be the guy that you looked up to. Well, he always, Donald Trump was awesome, right?
Yeah.
He came up from nothing. He did this. He was a billionaire playboy. He was on Playboy.
He didn't exactly come up from nothing, but maybe.
As far as we knew, I mean, back then, as far as we knew, it was a very small loan. We didn't know we didn't know the loan was of $1 million back then. We didn't know. Yeah. But like, he's not old money, and they don't really appreciate his brash style there in Manhattan and like whatever and all that bullshit. Yeah. And then he started saying all those things that sounded like fascism and law and order. He started saying things that like regular white people were like, well, yeah,
I still remember when he said we should think about the idea of forbidding Muslims from entering our country. Like,
yeah,
that was wild. When
it was crazy, and everybody was like, hell yeah, especially people that live in Dearborn where it's all Arab.
But I remember, like, at the time, he even phrased it in a way that was kind of like, kind of weaselly. Like, we should think about the idea of it, and then he could just later say, well, I was just thinking about the idea of it. But I don't even know. Actually, I don't know if he was ever called to task for it. I think people just forgot about it afterwards. But I remember.
Well, he did say he did do the flight ban list. Remember that?
The flight. Yeah.
The ban list. Yeah, and that was bad. I remember I conducted an interview. I did some interviews at the California State Republican Convention. And it was Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, and was Jeb still in it? Still in it? It was like the top 3 were in it at that point. But I was just doing like man on the street interviews around the park, and thought it was pretty funny. Most of the anti-Trump things were like, well, it's very racist, his travel ban. Very racist.
Right.
Okay.
It's something that Jimmy Carter did, of course.
Yeah. I love the fact that, like, even though, like, whatever, the whole Donald Trump thing is fake and gay and he's part of the system, but the fact that he went from the most honorary black dude of all time, like, nobody has won more awards for being an honorary black man than Donald Trump. He's won awards from Jet Magazine, from Ebony Magazine, from BET, from if there was a company called Blacks Incorporated, he would have won their award. Like, you know what I mean? Yep. He was every black. He was photographed with every Jesse Jackson, Michael Jackson, every all the Jacksons, all the Sharptons, all those always, right? Michael Jordan, he's always. But then as soon as he runs for president, I was racist.
Yeah,
it was amazing. What the media can do. It was like watching what happened since Donald Trump ran for office until now is watching the total 100% media takeover of the United States.
Yeah, and I know, and that's part of what's been so discomforting, discombobulating, lots of other words I can't think of right now, but it's just part of what has made me feel like ever since 2015, like reality has just shifted, like things are just so weird now, like that and it all started with the Trump phenomenon. That was really what kickstarted everything, made, like, before that, the media, at least, I mean, of course we knew they were biased, but they at least tried to be fair or tried to appear fair. But the kind of spectacle we saw in 2016, and this leads into actually something I wanted to ask you about with regard to vis-a-vis conspiracy theories and TRS, because it was during the 2016 the presidential campaign. It was late in the campaign, like in late October, early November, just before the election, that all the stuff broke with with WikiLeaks and the Podesta letters, and Marina Abramovich, and Comet Ping Pong Pizza, and James Alefantis and his just obscenely pedophilic Instagram page, which was open to the public. It was not privated or anything.
Right. No,
And that all
so much weird with that. We actually, that was our biggest episode. That was right around the time we went on to TRS, because we were still doing our show on YouTube at the time. We hadn't gotten kicked off YouTube. We did a Pizzagate episode,
right?
And Mike Enoch came on. It was weird. We had Mike on the show.
Yeah.
It was the only time he ever came on the show. We had Mike on for that, and Emily Yukas, who is now married to Warren Balog from the National Justice Party. Isn't that weird?
I kind of had wondered what had become of her. I hadn't heard about anything about Emily.
Well, she's married to Ahab. Now they are yes, they're part of the NJP.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we did that episode, and that did like 250,000 downloads.
Oh yeah, it was big news. I mean, people were buzzing about all this stuff, and I remembered that at that, like, because I had sort of I started listening to TRS in the early days, and I liked them in the early days, and then I because I thought, oh, these guys, like, they're being funny, they're doing bits, it's entertaining, it's not just like the sort of podcast where it's just one guy has another guy on and they just talk, and this is like a radio, like an entertaining radio show, drive time radio show. And I thought,
it's like racist Opie and Anthony.
Yeah, right.
That's exactly what it was.
I kind of liked it at first, but then I grew more and more weary of it, or wary. No, weary is the right word. I grew kind of tired of it. I like all of the lingo, all of the like the stuff like Dindu and what have all the other kind of like, it just kind of got old. It was like they thought I got the feeling they thought they were much more clever and funny than they really were, and it was just, I don't know. They eventually just started rubbing me the wrong way, and I stopped listening to them. But I was still aware of them, and I was also aware that I was aware of their appeal and how they were, like, because young, predominantly white men who they like that kind of humor, that they like that kind of atmosphere,
edgy humor. Yeah,
edgy humor, and just like, I could see how it had this real appeal, though. I understood the appeal, even though I didn't share the eventually it didn't appeal to me, and I kind of found
that kind of stuff does appeal to a lot of Gen Xers, because Gen X is, the boomers were our parents, and the boomers were like the first rebel against your generation gap, all that stuff, right? And
Absolutely.
So they were the first ones, and then the Xers took it further. Like, we were the ones like profanity is a personality, Dad. Like, that's Gen X, right? So everything is punctuated with a lot of vulgarity, with a lot of profanity. Very much so with Gen X. So that's why a lot of that like racist Opie and Anthony stuff really worked. And plus, it hit with the audience that it was hitting with. It was, again, those people had been listening to like Opie and Anthony or other radio shows, like, at work, because a lot of working guys.
Howard Stern.
Right. Howard Stern. But a lot of the guys that listened to that show were working people, and that's another thing, is originally they had jobs, I guess. Like, Mike was a coder at a computer company, and Jesse worked at his dad's paint store, and Alex was a volunteer EMT. So that they're jobs. I mean, those are jobs.
Sure. They're
not careers. Those are jobs. So they had jobs. So technically they were working class for a minute, and then they became a media empire. They became like a media company, and they no longer
until we found out that Enoch's mom was was tight with Hillary Clinton, right?
Oh,
that was later.
Dude, that's just a picture. Anybody can get a picture taken with somebody. That's just a picture. That picture it to me.
I remember hearing Enoch himself say, "My mom is friends with Hillary Clinton." He actually said it. I mean,
yeah, he actually said, my mom is friends with Hillary Clinton. When you are the chancellor or the provost or the president or whatever she was of the most communist university in the United States for 40 years, you were probably privy to a lot of AFL-CIO type meetings. You sat in on a lot of that stuff. You probably helped write policy for the AFL-CIO. A lot of people are like, hey man, Mike was lucky. Wasn't lucky, but like he married up by marrying that B'nai B'rith Jewish chick. I was like, well, wait a minute. She married the son of Dr. Painovich.
Right.
So who's to say that in some weird way Mike wasn't like marrying up, in a social sort of a way, like where Chelsea Clinton married some climate family Jew,
Rothschild, right?
Right.
Somebody.
Rothschild. Right. Exactly. So like this is what they do. So I can see why. Yeah. Nobody looks at it that way. Like Mike's mom, dude, was quite important in like probably in the labor movement over the past few decades, I would say.
Right.
Like when they write articles, like when Andrew Morantz writes a big old article where, he talks about getting trolled by Mike. When Mike used their the TRS guide to online trolling to troll this journalist, he mentioned Mike's father by name. He mentioned Mike's stepmother by name and profession and everything. When he mentioned Mike's mom, he just said Mike's mother. That was it. Didn't say anything about her name. Not that she had like a quadruple hyphenated last name and she's probably very famous, And she was with that picture of her and Hillary Clinton. That picture is like backstage at the DNC. That's not like a meet and greet in like Tulsa, Oklahoma, where she comes to the Stop and Shop and you get to see her for 5 seconds. No, they're in like nice, very nice black tie-ish event type.
Mm-hmm.
That's backstage at a big event. Those are friends. That picture.
Yeah.
So the whole Mike covering up of his mother aspect, like Laura Loomer one time said something about Mike's mom when Mike's mom passed away, and Mike went absolutely apeshit over it. Like, you don't talk about my mother. Whoa, bro. Like weirdly.
Yeah.
Offensive.
Yeah. But and all that is interesting. Like there's a lot to uncover and unpack with all of that, but which I won't even begin to get to today. But you talk about a lot in that other interview, which I'll link to. What interested me though is what I was starting to talk about a few minutes ago.
Sorry.
When it's okay, no, it's fine. When the Pizzagate stuff was coming out, these conspiracy averse, like not just conspiracy averse, but conspiracy contemptuous people, the TRS crowd, right? I think the way you described them was the mainstream media has been right about everything except the Holocaust. Like that was,
yeah. We call them bug nats. They're bugman nationalists, right?
Yeah.
Because there's what a bugman is, right? A bugman who's like their whole personality is Star Wars or whatever. Yeah. So these people, their whole personality is white nationalism and white people achievements. Like the moon, like they will die on the moon landing hill. They will die on, they don't want to look at Sandy Hook any differently. They don't want to look at, what's the other white achievement one besides the moon landing? There's a couple of them. They take away the moon landing stuff, space in general. Just the NASA lie. Take away NASA. Well, NASA was white scientists, man. German white Nazi scientists, and we're Nazis. You can't take away that from us. So,
and I remember you said in that other interview, which this is something I didn't know about, but you were talking about how they were all pumped up when the Christchurch shooting happened, and and they were like, this is when the white man has had enough. This is what he does. And
it's like the scene from The Big Lebowski where Walter's beating up the Corvette. This is what happens, Larry. And he's smashing the Corvette. This is what happens when white people are pushed too far. They dress up like they're in Call of Duty and they go to a mosque at time and they shoot a bunch of old people. That's what they do.
A bunch of women and children. Yeah. It was that way. I found, and you said you thought it was fake and gay and whatever.
Yes.
And they got really mad at you for doing that. And it was the same sort of thing. It was like, no, this is white achievement. This is a
Basically, like, yeah, I was denying white achievement. I'm like, if that's
mass murder is white achievement.
yeah, I was like, that's white achievement. I don't want to be white right now. That's not cool. Like, yeah,
exactly. So getting back to 2016 Pizzagate,
yep.
They seemed suddenly to be open to conspiracy when it was like, because at that particular joint, that particular joint in time, that particular moment, they seemed to be sympathetic to. I guess I don't know if it had even coalesced yet to where it was being called Pizzagate or anything like that, but there was definitely a lot of buzz about Marina Abramovich and the Podesta emails and Comet Pizza Ping Pong, and they seemed like they were really on board. Like, I remember tuning into them once, and they sounded like they were on board with all of that, and I was thinking, wait, so now they believe that the government, the deep state is corrupt and is a bunch of child rapists and stuff like that. This is the kind of stuff they would mock people for most of the time.
Right. They would like, this is Alex Jones tier.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a barb they like to throw out for everything. You're just being an Alex Jones tier conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, Alex Jones tier, right?
Yes. When COVID, oh my God, with the COVID stuff, and what we were talking about with COVID, and we were, I mean, obviously completely 100% correct about COVID the whole way.
Absolutely.
We didn't miss a single spot of it, but we were told that we were doing, we were Alex Jones tier conspiracy theory.
Yes, I know. I mean, I wasn't listening to TRS at around that time, or to Richard Spencer, or to
literally, yeah. And oh man, Richard Spencer, like the arc issue theory is real with Richard.
Yeah.
He's all the way back around. He was always a libtard. He always was. I've known Richard personally. He's always a libtard.
Just a racist libtard.
It's a racist liberal. Yeah. Same as TRS. They're just racist liberal Yankees.
Yeah. But so why do you think so? Do you think it was just because they were so behind Trump at that time that anything that would hurt Hillary Clinton's chances that they were supportive of?
There's that, and the fact that Donald Trump did, we love WikiLeaks, don't we, folks? We love WikiLeaks. Yeah. We love WikiLeaks. And then when it came down to helping out Assange, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, WikiLeaks. What do you mean WikiLeaks?
Yeah, I know. He totally turned his back on
Assange. Like, oh, I can't believe he did that. And I was like, didn't I tell you guys a long time ago that he was just an actor?
Yeah.
And you told me to shut up and let people have fun.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you shut up and let people have fun. So, but Donald Trump was going after the Pizzagate thing. I'm pretty sure he even mentioned Pizzagate and Hillary's emails in a couple of his speeches. So, of course, they were going to go behind that because they went full behind Trump after. I don't remember what the thing was that made them do it. Like maybe
the Mexicans are rapists thing. Was that
Mexicans rapists? They're not sending their best.
Yeah.
Build a wall.
Yeah.
The wall.
All the red meat kind of stuff that he was throwing out there.
All of a sudden, all the red meat stuff that never happened. Like all the stuff all the stuff that you chanted, none of it happened. None of it happened. Build the wall, lock her up, none of that stuff.
Drain the swamp.
Yep. None of them. Nobody chanted low black unemployment. Nobody did that.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So did they? I mean, what was that? Just a brief moment? Did they eventually become contemptuous of Pizzagate?
They never really. That was one, and I remember Jo, their security guy, Jo. He was on the show for a while. I think when Alex was doing EMT stuff, so they needed another third mic.
The one with the colorful history of.
He's the one with the made up history. I mean, that's all lies. That's 100%. Right. And you know what? The more I look at it, like the more I don't blame him for doing that. I wish I would have made up a whole bunch of colorful lies so that when they doxed me, all they would have got was a bunch of bullshit. But instead, but instead, I have an NSPLC page, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Me too. So okay, so
Jay,
they
okay, so
never.
Jay was the one who would always be like, I'm not big on conspiracies. I love Johnny. Johnny's my boy and all, but like the Pizzagate thing, I can't argue with that. There's like this, and he would talk about, like bring up specific things about Pizzagate, and they just kind of that one. They were like, no, that one's real because it's obviously Jewish pedophiles, and stuff kept coming up like Chris D'Elia, the one comedian that was like, oh yeah, they say that in Hollywood, they're just these little meetups where they audition kids. They just pass the kids around like party favors. Because that's me. I do that stuff. Yeah, I do that. And it's podcast. He's like looking at the camera saying, yeah, that's me. And then a week later, he gets busted actually for doing that. Right? Such red meat. I mean, come on. I mean, like he knows those videos are out there. He knows that stuff is out there. Like when he does that, they do that, and his character is being retired or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
Whatever reason they do that, and he maybe whatever, but he gets busted. So that kind of stuff kept the red meat going for the Pizzagate. So people like Jo would be like, no, look, see, this is real. Like, I mean, just in the coincidences, just really strange stuff. I always thought I thought it was weird that James Alefantis, broken down phonetically in French, is jamais l'enfant, which is I love children.
Yeah, I remember that.
Just stuff like that. I just always thought it was really crazy. So we always had like that to go back to because Podesta would always come up. And then Chester Bennington died. And then Chris Cornell died. And they supposedly were involved somehow. And then something else.
They were going to expose it. I think they were going to make it. They were part of a documentary that was.
Yeah.
And one of them was supposedly Podesta's son, or could have been Podesta's.
Chester Bennington looks so much like a young John Podesta. It's scary.
I remember that.
He looks as much like John Podesta as Chelsea Clinton looks like Webb Hubble. Which is like, if you look at the young pictures of young Chelsea before all the plastic surgery, and Webb Hubble. Bill Clinton is definitely not her dad. The freckles and the facial structure and the lips and everything, that is 100%. Anyways, that's a whole. I mean, that's you can talk about that kind of stuff for days with politicians. But anyways, so TRS was all over that because we still had some kind of evidence, and it was Jewish pedophiles, right? And we're very much we're anti.
And so I would imagine. So then I would imagine a couple of years later, when Epstein and Maxwell, got. When they actually arrested Jeffrey Epstein,
right?
I would imagine they were because Epstein, like, so of course, since his name is Epstein, they would still be into it. Am I correct? They were still
Epstein. Yeah, they even gone so far. I believe, I'm not sure, but the whole Epstein didn't kill himself. Like, most people are like, no, Epstein is on an island somewhere. The guys like him don't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Guys like him don't get actually prosecuted. Guys like him are fall guys and get paid a whole lot of money and then go away.
Yeah.
Right. So they actually believe that because Jews, right? Because Jews.
Yeah.
Just in Tel Aviv, right? And Ghislaine Maxwell because Jews, right? So they're totally cool with because Jews.
Yeah.
But anything other than that, if it's not like completely and overtly Jewish on its face, then it's however the media said it. Like with COVID. Like, these guys went as far as to like tell people how to decontaminate your takeout food.
Yeah. Like, I mean, they really just pushed it. They were Fauciites, sounds like, basically.
There's a clip of Jazz Hands saying that he thought that Dr. Fauci really had the country's best interest at heart. Like I can't believe those words would come out of anybody on the right's lips, because if anything, this government is fraudulent and criminal, and anything that you see on the television is put out by these Jewish media institutions, and we don't believe anything they say except this time. And
except this time and every other time except for the big H, right?
Right, except for the Holocaust, because the only thing they would ever lie about is the Holocaust.
Yeah.
I really don't understand that disconnect with these people. It's like they literally, you say that these people hate you, and they spend billions of dollars every year to promote reasons to get rid of you, and media and brainwashing media to getting rid of you and your people. But for some reason, the only thing they're going to lie about is the Holocaust ever.
Is it just like it's more cool to be racist than it is to be to believe in conspiracies? Not that you can't be both, of
You
course.
can be both. We are like Paranormies are pretty much proof that you can be both. I mean, and it's not being like. And here's the thing: is you're racist. Look, I don't want to hear that crap. Like, stop. The only people who are not allowed to have any defense of any of their own people are white people, and everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to knock it off. Everybody needs to knock it off. Like, you can't be like, you can be, if you're black, you can be pro-black. If you're brown, you can be pro-brown. If you're white, you can't be pro-white. There's no way. Yeah. It just doesn't work that way. And well, why should you be able to? Why should anybody be able to?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It should apply to everybody or to nobody.
Right. Exactly. But that's racist. And at that point, I don't care anymore. Fine. Yeah, I don't care. But that doesn't. That you can't believe. Yeah, that you can believe that whites, deserve their own homelands, just like blacks deserve their own homelands, just like brown people deserve their own homelands. Just that everybody deserves their own homeland.
Yeah,
and still think that Princess Diana is actually Elton John's husband. You know what I mean? Like, because there's a conspiracy theory that Elton the Princess Diana didn't die. She was being played by the guy who is actually Elton John's husband. I can't remember his name now. David something.
Oh, wow. I've never heard that one. That's a new one.
There's a lot of weird ones that we get into. And like, we don't believe all of them, but like the whole Jim Morrison became Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah. Yeah. Or there was a comedian who became Alex Jones. There was like some
Bill Hicks.
Yeah.
Bill Hicks. That one to me is one of the most believable. Just the side stories that match up, like Bill Hicks's best friend just so happens to be Alex Jones's agent. They were both working right when the time Bill died. Bill was working on a show where he played a Rush Limbaugh style conspiracy theorist news guy. And Alex Jones shows up. Weird. You know? Yeah, it's weird. And like the whole last couple of years of his career, you could hear him when he was like yelling at people in the audience. You could hear Alex Jones, like him practicing his Alex. When Alex goes off and does like those crazy rants.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, anyways, like those are, and then of course they're actors. They're actors. Yeah. These guys, and these are world class actors. These are like top of the top actors. To be able to play multiple large characters in a script like life, like reality, to be able to play several different people.
It's doable.
Yeah, it's totally doable. Like, people do it in movies all the time and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
That's like right. The last Batman movie, the Penguin was played by Colin Farrell. You're like, what?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't even recognize him.
Right, exactly. That's not what Colin Farrell looks or sounds like. They could have gotten a Polish guy from Chicago that looked like that and actually sounded like that. But instead, they got a little skinny Irish guy and they put 40 pounds of makeup on him and made him sound like that.
Yeah.
So that's what actors do. So like, they're of course they do it on television. But anyways.
Yeah.
Bug so, don't believe any of that.
Do you think that TRS, I mean, you talked about it being like a high school, like having this kind of high school mentality or this kind of like high school drama going on where it's cliquish and, there's the popular crowd and then there's the people that they make fun of. And do you think that it like, in that sort of atmosphere, they started formulating it like it's cool to be racist, but it's uncool to think that 9/11 wasn't that the 9/11 official story wasn't true, or that the Sandy Hook official story wasn't true, or that those are just losers, like Alex Jones tier losers, and we're not like that. We're cool here, like that. That's sort of just
cool. It was they were trying to get the more respectability. It's a respectability thing. Like, as soon as you start saying stuff like that, their eyes gloss over and they roll their eyes back in their head and they don't believe you anymore.
But don't you lose respectability when you call black people dindus and say really degrading things about people of other races? Doesn't that make you lose respectability?
Absolutely, dude. Like, yeah, when you say stuff like that, but but on their radio show, they're just playing characters. Right.
Okay.
I guess I forgot to say that I was just playing a character.
Yeah.
I forgot to say that part, I guess. Yeah.
That's right. Now you in this other interview, you talk about all the drama that led to you getting, I guess, quote unquote, fired or excommunicated or disfellowshipped or however we want to put it. And I don't want to get into all the minutia of that. But when did it happen? Like, how long ago was it?
It wasn't that long ago.
Okay.
Let me see. Season 7, we're on our 58th episode. We do 2 episodes a week, so 26 weeks ago. So,
okay,
6 months ago. So about 6-7 months ago, they were mad at us because of the bug gnat thing, and
yeah,
they get really these people get really upset, and they're like, you people need to stop infighting, and infighting is gay. Stop infighting, and then they're the ones that infight more than anybody.
Right. Well, when they do it, it's not infighting.
Right. They do it's not infighting. You're a shill if you say otherwise.
Yeah. I mean that's something. There is something very high school, very very just like immature high school, like, which is all like that was sort of the atmosphere I got. I think that's what turned me off to. Like, I was thinking these guys are like high school bullies. That eventually it just hit me like they that's how they came across to me, and it you know they were
bullying,
like
bullying works, and being a bully is bullying works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, have they actually said that, or is that just like your summary of?
I mean, well, I've heard that. I've heard them say.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure it does work in a lot of ways.
Sure. I mean, they gaslight their audience. Like, they'll say something, and then a month later, when they change their position on it because what they said the first time was wrong, they'll gaslight and say that they never said what they said a month ago.
Exactly. I mean, that's the kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that I sort of became aware of it at some point with them, just with their overall demeanor. With I think especially with Sven and Mike, but it was sort of it was sort of an atmosphere that pervaded the whole thing in some ways to me, and I think that was what turned me off ultimately to them. But so it sounds like the what led to you being kicked out of the cool kids crowd.
Yeah, like, there are people being mad about the stuff that we talk about on my show, and we're shitting on white achievement by saying we have questions about the official narrative of history.
Yeah.
And so therefore we need to be kicked off the show and excommunicated and whatever. And Jesse and I were friends, like IRL friends. Like, I had stayed at his house, my family stayed at his house. Like, we had vacation together and stuff,
Yeah, and your kids knew their kids. I didn't know about all of that.
Like, our kids were like buddies. Kids were like best friends, and like they played Fortnite together a couple times a week online.
Yeah. And
then I made comments to somebody that he doesn't like. Somebody who supposedly posted their address online. Somebody who supposedly doxed him. I don't know that that's true. I honestly didn't remember that person had done, like, honestly, like, I have enough shit going on in my own life. I have real life. I have an actual job. I have a podcast. I have a chat group for my podcast. I have fans and stuff, and like listeners and things going on with my own podcast. I don't have time to remember everybody that you don't like as well. Yeah. And I said something about Stryker in a friend of mine's chat on Telegram, and it got back to Jesse that I said it, and it was who I said it to, and that I said something about Stryker, and he like flipped his shit, and like I was excommunicated from literally everything. I got messages from a bunch of people. So I guess I'm supposed to never talk to you again, dude. I'm really sorry. Like,
that's so pathetic. Like, they can't just say, well,
so many messages like that. Like, I got like, dude, they told Dogbot, like one of my co-hosts who was in a group, they told him that you're gonna have to. They told his group, you're gonna have to kick him out. Part of the Paranormies. Like, That's
I mean, it's sort of cult like almost. I mean, I don't want to
like,
overstate. I don't want to.
no, don't, you're not overstating at all. It is very cult like. Jesse himself has even said that they need to be more cult like because they're not cultish enough. And whether he was joking or trolling or whatever, he's
Right.
the kind of idiots that say, well, when we take power, conspiracy theorists like Johnny go up against the wall. First of all, shut the fuck up. You're like 20. Okay. You know, you're not doing anything. You haven't done anything. You've never done anything.
Yeah.
You like a 20-year-old 30 years ago might have gone to college, might have been in the military, might have actually had a little bit of a life experience. Yeah. These 20-year-olds now, like everything they have, all their experience is done through basically virtual reality. Like all the, you know, they don't even play the video games anymore. They just watch people play the video games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like all this stuff. That's the kind of people that they have that listen. Like their fans, their listeners their core listeners have changed, and you know, they have like 0% of all their original listeners.
Really? See, that's what I'm curious to know. So when things went when it all went down with Enoch and his wife and all of that chased a lot of people away, right?
Yeah, people left. And a lot of people that were dissenting over it. The forum went down. The 5.0 forum. Oopsie, it went down. We don't know what happened. 3 days later, back up, and everybody who disagreed was gone. Weird. It's strange how crazy how nature do that.
Yeah.
So then the covering, the great covering, and people covering for it, and I went along with the covering. I was like, look, I'm in the Facebook group with Mike. Mike wouldn't lie to us. We're his friends. We're the inner circle. He wouldn't lie to us.
Mm-hmm. So
we believed everything Mike said, and Mike wasn't Jewish, and that Mike was talking about his wife, and blah, 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 blah. But a lot of people were still like, dude, I defended Mike as not being Jewish up until a few months ago when I finally said, all right, stop. Just look at it and listen and like, look at what you're seeing.
Yeah.
You know, the backstabbiness, just the poor moral character is very Jewy, you know.
You made the comparison to the Seinfeld gang.
At the end of Seinfeld, when everybody's going to court and talking about how shitty these people are, it's the same thing, you know. Like honestly, like I don't care that you guys do, like if you're gonna do drugs, whatever. But like if you're gonna do whatever it is, like, dude, you know how many times Alex has called out Mike for being like whacked out on Adderall on the show? Oh, that was an Adderall rant if I've ever heard one. Like, because Alex is not as smart as he thinks he is, and you know, occasionally, dude, there's audio floating around of you can clearly hear Stryker doing cocaine. Like
that's what I remember you talking about that on the other podcast as well.
But then it's like you want to be some sort of vanguard of white people, and white people are supposed to be like moral. Like that's
cocaine is the white drug, right?
Yeah, cocaine is the white Aryan drug. It's the drug of Aryan people from the brown people in South America.
Yeah,
that is white somehow.
Yeah.
Somehow Pablo Escobar was white. So. The Spaniards, you see, Johnny, the Spaniards were actually white. Right. And it was because the missions works were, I don't know. Just stop it. Stop lying and say it and just admit that you guys like cocaine and that you guys like speed and that you do this stuff. I know so many people in the alt-right that do or did Adderall. You know, these guys would have these fucking Skype calls that would go on for hours and hours and hours and hours at a time. And there were times I actually think I have a couple on an old hard drive recorded that are like 12 hours long, and Mike was on there the whole time.
Wow. 12 hours.
Yeah. Maybe he took a nap for a minute, but he was in there back and forth the whole 12-hour call. Yeah. It's like, you can do that with Adderall.
Yeah. Or maybe just a lot of coffee. I don't know, but I get what you're saying.
We talked about modafinil and like I know for a fact a lot of these. And then the kids that hang out, a lot of them are into that kind of stuff, and it's not good. But like we're supposed to be We're supposed to be the good guys, right? Drugs are for bad people.
Yeah.
Right?
To be the role models.
Right, we're the role models. What are you doing going into the bathroom and doing coke? What are you doing like getting blackout drunk at a meetup, like, you know, your own meetup, like an NJP meetup? Stryker, it was a no drinking thing, and Stryker brought a bottle in his jacket and ended up like having to be carried out.
Oh.
Like, that's the kind of people these are. You know what I mean? Isn't it really? That's terrible. That's and these people say they're going to take power. What?
Well, so many of the alt-right's wounds seem to be self-inflicted.
Oh yeah.
There's everything that you've talked about with the TRS crew, and there's also, I'm not to dwell on it or anything, but what went down with in Indiana with with Parrott and
oh yeah. Well, I mean, everything they do. There's that. Yeah, there's the box breaking thing. There's the Yid wife crisis. There's, when you said Indiana, I forgot there's another one. That was at the NPI thing. There was a time that Conti.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
Spencer of trying to have a threesome with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of people are these people? You know.
Yeah. I know, and so it's like I mean, I would like to say
I was standing there. Kevin McDonald was there. Kevin McDonald was sitting on the couch, like, what the hell? What's going on right now?
Yeah.
I was like, Dr. McDonald, I was like, welcome to the NPI After Hours, Dr. McDonald.
The guy's like he's like 70 or something, right? He's like,
Kevin McDonald came back, was like 70 something. He was having a good time. He was talking to a female, and she was very interested in the story about the Jews, so he was having a good time. But yeah, but like, it was crazy. All of a sudden, you hear Greg Conti screaming at Richard Spencer about trying to get with this girl. It's absolutely insane. It's like, you people are no better. You're no better than libtards. Oh wait, you are. You're just racist libtards.
It's like, and what do you think about the pic? You mentioned the picture of Enoch's mom with Hillary Clinton. What do you think of the picture of Spencer and his then wife Nina with Barbara Bush? Like, have you seen that one?
Is it Laura Bush or Barbara Bush?
Oh, sorry, Laura Bush. Laura Bush.
Yeah, I know Richard's parents are friends with the Bushes. So yeah, it's like fake Texas rancher money, because they're not from Texas. Like,
yes,
the Bushes are from Connecticut, and Spencers are probably from Connecticut too. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
So them being friends with the Bush family is kind of funny, because like, I always jokingly said that was when Richard got his FBI wings, was when he went to Hungary and got detained in Hungary. Remember that?
Sure do. Yeah, I remember it well.
Yeah, and then he came back, and then Richard was like everywhere, in everything, and doing all the stuff, and just messing everything up. I think for a time, maybe Richard's job was to be the bumbling sort of dandy playboy that, you know, tried to be the leader but failed all the time, just never quite made it, but was always there.
Well, his I remember being just so incensed, even though I shouldn't have been, because it shouldn't really have mattered that much to me. But I remember when he did his Hail Trump, Hail Victory speech at the 2016 NPI conference. I was like, what the hell? What are you doing?
He wasn't the first one to throw Roman. Mike was actually the first one to throw Roman.
I believe so. I believe so.
Mike was, from people that were there, Mike himself. You can't see him because he's off to the side. Mike was the first one to throw Roman, and then everybody did.
Yes. Like, what are you doing? How is that? Like, and that was at a moment where, you know, they were actually in a favorable position because Trump had won, and you could just sort of coast, but instead he has to pull a stunt like that and look like a clown.
Yep, we're gonna take this one with us. We're gonna make everybody. Oh my God, it's bad. Yeah, I was involved in several sessions of doing that dumb stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm not innocent of, oh, Johnny, you went along with it. Yeah, I did. It was a lot of fun. It was a whole lot of fun. We were on top of the world. We were going to win.
Yeah.
We were going to take power. A small group of us were somehow going to be implanted into management somewhere. Look, there was a few steps that we needed to work out. Right.
Yeah. Well, I remember not nothing quite that grandiose for me, but I do remember when I was, when Richard Spencer was still involved with alternativeright.com, and he and I were sort of friends, and we talked regularly, and we did a podcast together along with Colin Liddell. And I remember thinking, this is my ticket. I'm gonna this is something. This is I can ride this, and this, I'm on my way. I remember actually thinking that in the early days. I kind of blush to think of it now, but
yeah. Well, we did too. Like we're gonna do all the stuff that the Jews are doing in media, but we're gonna do it our way. That's what we're gonna take over all that stuff, and we're gonna fix it. We're gonna make it all better.
Yeah. Now, let me just to rewind for a second, because all of this stuff concerning the alt-right is and the scandalous stuff that went on it's all interesting to talk about. But I am curious to know, as far as the conspiracy, as far as being a someone who believes in quote unquote conspiracy theories or alternative explanations to the official account of what took place. What was your quote unquote red pill? I mean, I find that lingo kind of odious, but I'll use it now anyway.
As far as what? Because like there's some things like it being quote red pill, it happens in layers.
Yeah.
Right? You can red pill on something and not be red pilled on something else.
That's true. I guess when do you remember going from thinking, well, what you hear about on television is probably mostly true. The media's the media can't be totally trusted, but we probably have the truth of what's happening in the world and what's happened throughout history and so forth and so on. And then you get someone throws you a left hook, and you're like, whoa, I have to reconsider all of my previous convictions of the way things are. Did you remember something like that?
I mean, I was a kid, and I figured out that politics was fake when I figured out that Ronald Reagan was an actor. I was like, how can an actor be the president? Because we watched him in Bedtime for Bonzo at the chimpanzee.
Yeah.
How does that guy? I was like 10. I was like, how does that guy run the whole country?
Talk about an early bloomer.
And my grandfather was like to my mom, come get your kid. Just like you. Question things already. I was like, my grandfather was the same way though. He was you got a smart one there.
Yeah.
I remember that. And he would always, once he figured out I was smart like that, he would he spent the rest of as long as I knew him, like picking at me, like trying to make me smarter.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you've had sounds like you have a good family, like you've got people who have supported you in your family, and
oh yeah, up until now. I mean, like once you make the SPLC, and even your Christian family is like, whoa.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I know the feeling too. The SPLC and the ADL.
And the ADL, yes, I'm on both.
Yeah, that's right. They're when they came out with their article about the alt-right and the alt-light naming the hate.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of the hate that they named, and honestly, I think it was just because I was affiliated with because I was affiliated with alternativeright.com and Richard Spencer. I think that was what made me what put me on that list. But so it goes. So it was just thinking, well, Reagan was an actor.
Well, that was what got me started, and then as I got older, I just had a mistrust of all that kind of stuff. I just always questioned authority.
And did you think something untoward was happening with the Branch Davidians in '93?
But when that happened, I knew there was excuse me, I knew there was something very wrong because the government shouldn't be doing things like that. I knew there was kids in there.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's very bad. I know there was 93. I was still young, and like I had no means of researching it at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, now going back, absolutely. Like those,
Yeah.
Waco and Ruby Ridge, man. Oof, you want to talk about get some fuel. But no, it was when I really, well, I got into like aliens and all that kind of paranormal stuff throughout my 20s. I was really into that and spirit science and like Tool and psychedelics. I did, and the opening your third eye and that kind of stuff. And I got into Terrence McKenna and the stoned ape theory and some of the stuff that we actually talk about on the Paranormies, which is one of the reasons why the Paranormies works, because I've been into this stuff most of my life. And then I had, when I was in the military, 9/11 happened, and at the time it just didn't make any sense. But like we weren't allowed to question.
Yeah,
anything. We weren't allowed, even though we were questioning. We were like, that doesn't make. Does that make any guys? Does that make any sense to you how this happened? And now we're doing this and this is happening. Nope. Yeah, there was a lot, but we weren't allowed to question. There's not, just shut up.
Did you end up in Iraq?
Yes, I did 2 deployments over there. Yeah. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So when I got out of the military, I was very much an Adam Kokesh, like stoner, Bush did 9/11 tier anarchist.
Yeah.
That was 2005.
Right.
And then I like Alex Jones and Tex Mars and Freeman and Michael Tsarian and David Icke and all that.
Sure.
It's 2005. Obviously Art Bell and Coast to Coast Radio for most of my adult life.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
So, yeah, so like that's how that, I mean, so kind of off and on. Like, and again, like when I met the guys at TRS, I was already getting 30-day suspensions on Facebook for posting anti-Semitic memes. Like I was done debunking the Holocaust long before I met TRS, right? Because I was into Israel is a fake state because the poor Palestinians, right?
Sure.
Because I lived in Berkeley, and and it was like there's always the leftist movement there, and there's the BDS thing is big. It always has been in Berkeley, and there's like the whole Free Palestine stuff, and so I was always into that. And I read, was it Naomi Klein's book about I forgot what it's called, but it's about the creation of the state of Israel and how it's illegal and blah 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 blah, and there was that. And so I was like, well, if the state of Israel was created, let me look into the Holocaust. And then I figured out the Holocaust was fake. We were doing Jew and Holocaust memes well before TRS came around. So
we're ahead of your time.
Yeah, we're like hipster. We're like Holocaust hipsters. and then we met up because I was listening to Red Ice. Oh, that's how it happened. I was listening to Red Ice with Lana and Henrik, and they went from doing Joseph P. Farrell and Hoagland, not Gene Hoagland, that's a drummer, but Richard Hoagland and all the Breakaway Society type stuff, and all the other weird stuff that they used to have on Red Ice, and then they had a bunch of Holocaust revisionism on there, and that's where I watched Hellstorm, and I found Renegade, and Renegade got me into researching Flat Earth. And for a while, TRS was pro Flat Earth. People don't remember. Really? Yeah. There was one of the parody songs was called None of This Matters. And it was like Nothing Else Matters by Metallica. But it was supposed to be Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force was None of This Matters. Right. That's one of the drops. That was one of the.
I actually do remember that, but I didn't remember the Flat Earth thing coming up.
Well, yeah, part of that song was talking about sphere cucks and pale blue Jew dot conspiracy and stuff. Yeah, so like they were almost pro Flat Earth like publicly, and then Renegade came out and were like, flat Earth and crystal trees and some other weird stuff. And Shiksa Goddess, or whatever her name was, Sinead, she said something very crazy, and TRS was like, that was the first time when they were like, yeah, we don't want to look like them, so we're distancing ourselves. So that was when they really first started distancing themselves publicly from conspiracy theories.
Interesting.
It was flat Earth and crystal trees.
I don't know about crystal trees, but
it's just that, like, Devil's Tower and all those large, flat, but whatever you want to call them, stone structures. You know what I mean? It's just like a big flat mountain, whatever you want to call it. That those are the remnants of ancient crystal trees that were here at a time before there were humans.
Oh, okay.
It's a theory, and it's one of those interesting theories.
Does it have any kind of relation to the Tartaria thing that's
I mean, well, yeah, in a way that, like, sand is silica, and silica would be considered like sawdust of the tree. You'd have to, there's a lot of stuff to research on that.
Yeah,
a lot of time. You can get into a lot of rabbit holes with the Tartaria, which is such a blanket term for so many different things too.
It is, yeah.
Because
I've never been able to quite grasp it. I know a lot of Tartaria, like, YouTube channels and stuff, and I listen to them occasionally, and sometimes they're interesting, but sometimes I just kind of lose the thread. Like, all right, what are they?
Yeah, I really like I like Howdy McCoskey. I like his stuff. I have one of his books, and I've watched a lot of his talks. He makes a lot of sense out of it, kind of academically. You have a lot of guys now who were big Tartaria researchers who are going back on it.
Oh, really?
Well, there's already this movement of, like, well, I used to be into Tartaria, but now I'm not, because I found a book at the gift store of this one cathedral I was at that showed how they built it. So therefore, all of this makes sense now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it just seems to me like there's more of an op. I think that they are controlling the conspiracy movement with a lot of disinformation mixed in with a lot of real information.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
And with the Tartaria thing, it's very easy to do with these AI pictures and sepia filters. You know, you can make anything look old.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they're finding out that a lot of these pictures that are coming out with, like, oh, look at this melted structure. Well, it doesn't actually exist. It's just a computer generated image. You know, so you got to be careful with a lot of this stuff now, because, and again, like they did it with 9/11, they put out a whole bunch of information with 9/11.
Yes.
And that's what they do. But anyway, maybe I got off topic. I'm sorry. Where were we talking about?
We're talking about quote unquote red pills and
just over time, just everything. You know,
when did Pizzagate come to your attention?
Right when it first started breaking on the internet. I believe it was 2014, 2015. I started seeing stuff about it.
Like are you talking about the Franklin scandal? Or
Franklin scandal. Now the Franklin cover up, that was a big one with Boys. Yeah.
Boys Town. And
actually, we haven't done a whole episode on that, but I've talked about it a few times. That's a crazy one.
I mentioned that because that was the one that for me was, if you will, my quote unquote red pill. Like I had looked into other things. I had sort of, you know, I was interested in alternative explanations of 9/11. And I sort of kind of gradually came around to believing that that the official story wasn't true, and so then I looked into a few other things, and and those were things that were kind of interesting. But the first thing that I found out, the first thing that I researched that just horrified me, and I mean, like, it made me, like, stay up at night and weep. And I've told this story a bunch of times. I've recounted this a lot of times, but where I just was the first time I encountered something where I really didn't want to believe it. I would have done anything to disprove it to myself. I would have done anything to find out, no, this isn't really, this is all just a hoax. It didn't really happen. But I couldn't. I mean, like it all fit together. And like the fact that these people, were these high ranking people were abusing kids, and that groups, like the FBI and others were instead of protecting the kids, they were protecting the perpetrators, the predators, the powerful ones. I mean, that was just so that was just lacerating to my soul. I'm not. I mean, it sounds like I'm being melodramatic, but I'm not. That was just like whew. And it took me like a couple months to recover, where I just didn't want to think about it.
Hmm.
And that was back in that was 2014. That was like April of 2014.
Yeah.
So that was what really
Man, after listening to all those stories of those kids and with the drugs and this stuff, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah, and and then Pizzagate happened, then
Mm-hmm.
then Epstein happened, and somehow people are still saying no, Pizzagate's not real. Like you're just a crazy conspiracy theorist. You're just like look, it says like look, the New York Times has this piece out where they're debunking the Pizzagate, and all they're saying in the piece is just it's not true. They're not saying. No, I have yet to with regard to Pizzagate, I have yet to come across something that actually looks at like the documents, that goes over the Podesta documents and says, oh, but when the researchers came to these conclusions, they were wrong, because it was really, when Marina Abramovich talked about spirit cooking, she really meant this, and when
we did an episode on spirit cooking, and that was like one of the ones we were like, what the hell is this all about?
Yeah.
And then we started seeing all the tie-ins with the Podestas and Hollywood and who's involved, and everybody from Jay-Z to Will Ferrell and Oprah, and it's amazing, and it's just like, okay, and then the Epstein flight logs came out.
Yes, and all the people who were on those flights.
Right.
I mean, some of them were celebrities, some of them were just not people whose names you would know, but there were people who were
rich people,
rich people like in charge of industries or this or that or the other.
Captains of industry.
Yeah.
Also Stephen Hawking, which I thought was
what
the hell, Stephen Hawking? What was Stephen Hawking doing?
Scientists, lots of Harvard scientists, and I mean,
every Harvard. I mean, I guess they can't. I don't know. I don't want to say. I don't want to say anything bad, but like nothing good can come of something like that,
No.
So car alarm is going off right now. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but I have no control.
I can't hear it. I can't. But I know we're about ready to wrap this up. But I just wanted to wanted to get your. I was curious to know. I'm always curious to know people who like us see things differently, or question authority, or however you want to put it.
Absolutely. Well, and again, that was at the end. That's what got us, asked to leave. We tried to leave after the end of season 6. Now, when we finally did get on TRS, we were halfway through our first season. So we did, 5.5 seasons on TRS. And so, there was a lot of times we didn't agree on stuff, and these guys did a lot of mocking on their shows. Like they would make fun of what we talk about.
Like I imagine you did stuff about COVID, right? And they
the COVID stuff. We did a lot of stuff on COVID, and we nailed it all the way down. And of course, they say we were wrong the whole time, and then they were correct. Their theory about COVID was that the Hasidic Jews were experimenting with gain of function on a MERS vaccine, and because They didn't want to get MERS, Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome. The other Jews locked down the entire world. That's what they said. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, weren't they pro-lockdown? Weren't they saying it's a good thing to lock down?
Right, and they were well. See, the thing is the lockdown destroyed the middle class. Then they would have more middle class people would flock to them as the only.
So it was like the accelerationist argument. Like,
yes.
So things are going to get worse now, and then that means it gets better for us.
Yes, things get worse for the average white person. This is what happens when white people are pushed too far.
Yeah.
And nothing happened. White people got their, and they were like, well, we just need white people Gibbs, now we just need white people communism, and then UBI, and now it's, now they're basically shilling for UBI, and they're it's amazing. It's amazing how all these Duganist things that they say they don't want to implement are right there. But anyway, so we disagreed with a lot of stuff. There was the Christchurch incident where Jesse broke his keyboard, and that. There's a huge, and there's a lot of times we don't agree on stuff. And
he broke his keyboard on the air,
on the air, smashed his keyboard on the air because I said Christchurch was faking gay. Yeah,
he got so angry at you not appreciating that this is a great white man.
Not appreciating the great white man, the slaughter of the Ragastanis in New Zealand.
Right.
Yeah. So also probably my take cost him a couple of subscribers. So, everything if I cause people to not agree with TRS, then they lose subscriber and they lose money but I mean, there are people who think that they're getting funded elsewhere, and it would seem that that's probably true.
Yes. Right. Well, I mean, I guess we sort of talked about that a little earlier.
But and so so the COVID thing, they were like, we tried to leave, and they're like, no, you can't leave. And then finally they were like, yeah, you guys are doing the Alex Jones tier COVID takes, and we're trying to do politics.
Yeah.
Trying to do a real politics. Really. A real politics. You guys who one of your second in command guy sang a song called with a line that went, some kikes get turned into ashes in my oven, some kikes get the rope. Like, you wrote that song and you sang it. Okay. Right. So you're telling me that anybody is supposed to take your ass seriously?
Yeah, the Daily Show.
When does Seventh Son and Mike Enoch turn into Jesse Dunstan and Mike Pinovich? You know what I mean? Like, they've said several times that they're doing an act, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, is it an act? Are they real? Are they not? I mean, like, I wasn't acting. My docs isn't an act.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. No, I absolutely.
Of angry people who have tried to get me, like, physically injured because of my docs were not fake,
And now you're sort of in this position, like, well, you're still gainfully employed, but you have, like, sort of live in fear that people at your new spot will find out.
Every day I wonder, is this the day that somebody finds my thing? Yeah. So it's really a shitty way to live, and it sucks to have to live like this. But I get to do my job, which is cool.
Yeah.
I am good at what I do. I'm a very good electrician, and I've always, like, I've been let go from places, and they're like, yeah, it's got nothing to do with your performance, but they called human resources. And it's like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to? There was a guy from my home local listened to a podcast that I was on with on the TRS network, where it was cool to be racist, and we all said racist things.
Yes.
And because I said the N-word, and they put that on the poster, and now everybody who sees me or sees this is like, oh, this guy said the N-word, he's racist.
Yeah.
Can't have him on the job.
Right.
So yeah. And that's just the way it goes, and that's just the way it's going to go for the rest of my life. As long as
it seems like you could, couldn't you file some kind of, isn't that discrimination? Is that not discrimination?
Yeah, but because of the fact that I'm the union, they're just going to lay me off and back to the union hall, and they'll give me another job slip to go to another job, another call. That's all they can do.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
The union hasn't forsaken you, which is good.
I mean, they kind of don't like me, but they kind of are like, we have communists, we have this guy.
Right. Right. But they still, but
we don't like what you say, but you know, the First Amendment guarantees your ability to say it.
Yeah. And we'll still make sure you get work. I mean, it sounds like that's what they've been doing.
Yeah, they can't turn me down for work, but the shop can be like, yeah, we don't want this Nazi.
Yeah.
Because they see my if somebody was like, hey, shop in St. Louis where John's working right now, you know, or wherever I happen to be working at the time, like, you know, this guy, that's what happened. Like, I was working, I finally had a job where I was able to be home every night. I mean, I had to drive like an hour and a half each way, but I was home every night. And somebody found out who I was and sent my stuff to labor relations, and I got called into the office and I got fired. I got put on I got put on unpaid administrative leave, and then 3 weeks later they fired me for violation of company policy that they wouldn't tell me which one it was.
Huh.
Yeah.
They just made something up.
Well, I mean, it showed me when I went into the office, they showed me my SPLC page. They're like, "What is this all about?"
Right.
Yeah.
But it seems like you could just say, "Oh, well, that was just I mean, I made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. Shouldn't I be? Could I ask for forgiveness or something?" I know you don't want to I know you don't want to.
I'm not cucking on anything.
No, you don't want to. You don't want to do anything like that. But you could just say, "Well,
just the SPLC page." There's a thing where a guy from my local took a picture of me, one of my pictures from a Facebook thing, and took he sat and listened to one of those episodes that I was on and took all the quotes and put them around my face and made a poster out of it and plastered all over the city.
That's really that people devote that much time to trying to ruin one guy.
Yep. I mean, it's amazing, dude. It's amazing. And these are people who are working class, blue collar, you know, like IBEW electricians.
If I knew some black guy had gone off about honkies like 5 years ago, I wouldn't care.
I wouldn't care. White people, black guys, dude. Most black guys that I work with, I get along better with the black guys at my job than most everybody, because I grew up in black neighborhoods. I went to an all black high school for a while. I understand. I lived in black neighborhoods a lot of my life. You know, sure. I understand them, you know, and I don't have any unrealistic expectations, and I get along with them, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Doesn't mean that I want to live. I don't want them living in my neighborhood, and I don't want to live in their neighborhood, you know. And that's pretty much where I'm at with it, you know. And if that makes me racist, I guess that makes me racist. But
I'm just saying, like this whole
the same way, you know. And they're surprised, like this one when I got fired from the last job. One of my buddies called me a couple of days later. He's like, "Man, because they just like took me out of there and nobody said anything to anybody. Like, just poof, he was gone. Oh my God, what happened?" You know. And then later on, they found out what happened. And like the black kid was my apprentice, right? And I'd been working with him for like 5.5 months. And he was like, "Man, John didn't seem racist at all." I was like, "Right, because I'm at work and I'm teaching you how to do your job."
That's right.
Like, I'm not not one of these people that gets up and there's like, "Oh, saw a black, day ruined."
Yeah, I know. Like, and what I was saying is, I don't get what animates the kind of people who do the kind of thing that you said, like to make this picture of you and put these quotes all around you and post them all around the city. Like if there was some black guy who was working as an electrician in my shop, let's say I owned a shop, and I found out that 6 years ago he had gone off and said stuff about whiteys and honkies and whatever, I wouldn't care.
Nobody cares, right? Nobody cares if they do that kind of stuff. But if you're a white dude, like
it's a clear double standard.
Did you hear about there's an Australian race car driver that lost an endorsement because of something his father said before he was even born?
No.
He lost an endorsement because his dad said something about Aborigines not being human or something. Like, 2 or 3 years before this kid was even born. So because his dad said that, he lost his, like, that's where we're at.
Sins of the father.
Sins of the father, yeah. And yeah, and my kid, dude, my kid has my name. You know,
Yeah.
this whole thing, like, this sucks for him,
Yeah.
than anybody.
Great.
You know, and all this, yeah, and again, my family finds out about this. My Zionist Christian family,
Yeah.
who believe, a lot of them believe, you know, the whole the Jews are God's chosen people and all that. All that Schofield reference notes Christianity.
Oh, I would have thought you were from a Catholic background, but maybe not.
My dad's side's Catholic. On my mom's side is very fundamentalist Baptist.
Okay.
Yeah, Bob Jones Baptist. I actually went to Bob Jones for a couple of years. Most of my family members graduated. Like, that's the other thing. Oh my God. So real quick, after all this stuff happened, when I did the kill stream, and then I did when I did the kill stream, now the TRS has a bunch of little magazines or websites that write articles about them. And one is the hyphen report, and one is the colon report. And
right.
The colon report is a rather retarded name, by the way. Everything with them is like a sort of gay innuendo.
Yes. I remember you talking about that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Standard this party, standard that party comes from standard fuck party, which is a gay thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything they do. But anyways, I digress. Oh, I forgot what I was going to say now.
So, yeah, you were at this function?
I totally forgot what I was going to say.
Let's see.
I lost my train of thought. I hate when I do that. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Occasionally, I'll have one of those senior moments where, well, I'm getting older, too. And that's another thing. A lot of these guys are kids that are listening to this now. And a lot of the older guys have left. You know, a lot of the guys that, like, I am still friends with a lot of the older guys. And a lot of them don't listen or don't want to listen because these guys have nothing to say to them anymore, you know? Like, nobody's trying to, why are we trying to rehabilitate 1930s, you know, Central European policies, you know, and aesthetics.
Central European, that's very vague. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, you know.
Yeah. So it was something having to do with a colon report. I remember, like, you mentioned.
Yeah. So they wrote an article about me. Right away they wrote articles about me, and they used in their article, they used the SPLC's docs of me. That's the kind of,
wow.
Yeah, I saw that, and they're using the docs me. I'm like, wow, they're officially using Jewish docs to talk about, so, like, the enemy of my enemy, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that, like, what is going on with this? But the fact that they use that, yeah. So that
shows a lack of honor, I think, to use the enemies.
Lack of honor. Those people, they have none. Like, these people they actually somehow found a picture that I had, I guess, of my wife. She has zero online presence, zero. Never wanted any, was never into Facebook, none of that stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And somebody found a picture, and there's a poll thread, and they have balls, like, they posted something about, because we had gotten divorced and things out, got back together, and now we're married again, and we have more children. We actually had more kids.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we had a kid to begin with. We split. We did the whole, like, we're going to split up, and we're going to split up for the kid. You don't split up for the kid. You work it out and stay together for the kid. We fucked up, and we split up for 5 years, and we got back together. Anyway, that's a great story. That's a great story arc, right? And these people turned it into, oh yeah, well, she cheated on him with the black guy, and now he got cucked, and this is blah 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 blah. And they found this picture, and they, like, put like these are TRS people. Like, picture her and put mud shark across her face, and, like, these are TRS. These are the good guys. These are the guys that want to be the good guys. These are the ones that, when they want to win and take power, and, like, this is what they do. This is very high school, junior high, ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Cult behavior.
It is.
It's cult.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah, there, and like I said, there's all I can say is there's no trace of honor in it at all.
No, you can tell. I said before, like you can tell these people, the ones in charge, like Jesse and Mike, they've never had real friends in their lives. The way that they treat, the way that they treat people IRL,
Mhm.
the way that they treat the people that they cut out of their lives over literally nothing.
Mhm.
Um, he's held a grudge. Like there's two factions. Like Jesse's wife doesn't like this other person's wife, and so there's this faction and that faction, and these people don't like those people because they're friends with her and not with her, right? That's like the gayest thing ever. But
Yeah, it's so high school. Again, it's just like,
yeah, but that's really how it is. It's really how it is. It's literally like
high school. It really is true in the Bowling for Soup song. High school never ends for some people.
it never ends. Some of these people, well, that's the thing is like, Jesse was like one of the band's gonna make it kind of guys, and the band never made it. Now the band can kind of make it, sort of. The band sort of made it. He's definitely moved up in the world from part-time paint store manager to most racist music producer. And then Mike, I guess, Mike's the chairman of a political party now, which I find funny because that political party, they use the logo of the German NPD, which is the most glowy of all of the political parties in Germany.
Is that like the neo-Nazi party of today?
Yes.
Okay.
Glowy neo-Nazi fake Jew party. Yeah. And they use their logo is like, the color is different, but it's the same exact logo. Exactly. And I asked them about that. I was at Jesse's house before they moved to Pennsylvania. This was in New York. Or was it? No, this is in New York before they moved. And Jazz Hands was there, and McKevitt was there. McKevitt's part of NJP. And Mike was there. And I was like, guys, let me ask you this. You guys know, I know you guys know this, but that looks identical to the NPD thing. And Jazz Hands was like, oh, Johnny, wait, you just light switch brain. And I'm like, hang on a fucking second. I'm not asking you. You're not the chairman of the party. Shut up. And then McKevitt was like, well, I was like, McKevitt, just settle down. I was like, Mike, why are you doing this? Oh, well, and I got no answer. I really got no answer for why. Like, that's a legitimate question. Why would you guys, if you want to be taken seriously even a little bit, why would you guys use the exact same logo, the exact same font? The colors are different, but the exact same font as the neo-Nazi party that is so infiltrated with glowies that when they were asked to have them shut down, the German government said, no, we have too many of our agents.
Too many of our people are in it.
Right. And so no. So so why would you do that? And again, and they have on Telegram, they have a channel called NJP Exposed where it's ironically mocking the NJP. And it's terrible. It's terrible satire. It's really terrible satire. A lot of times what they do is they'll repost our stuff because they really hate us. They really don't like us. They really think that what we're doing, because we have such a big following comparatively, and we only have 20,000, almost 22,000 subscribers on Telegram, which isn't bad,
No, not at all.
But in the grand scheme of things, Donald Trump Jr. has 300,000,
Yeah.
So we're not breaking it, but compared to the NJP, which only has 9,000, they're a political party, right? They're actually an LLC, which is a whole other thing. They're a business, but they're not even a political party. But because they seem to think that because we have this reach and we're squandering it and wasting it by talking about Tartaria and gobbledygook and Kung Fu Pandek and and that kind of stuff and 9/11 don't real. So we're wasting our time and we're pushing people away, and it's actually what did Jesse say? We're gunt guarding for Zionist programs. So these fake conspiracy theories that were just meant to keep us mired in these straw men.
Yeah, and that's just inducing complacency so the Jews can just take over even more.
Everything's a distraction. It's a distraction from talking about Jewish power. You're not talking about Jewish power. You know, literally everything we talked about COVID. Literally everything about COVID is Jewish, top to bottom. Everything about COVID is Jewish. No, you can't get around it. Like from Albert Bourla, the CEO of Pfizer, back to the Israel accidentally coming up with the first vaccine, just luckily, you know, all these things, like from Joseph Lieber, you know, being the scientist at the Wuhan laboratory, if we're even going to consider that to be partially real. There's just so many ties to Israel and Jews from the top to the bottom of the thing. So anything we talked about, we always talked about it from the point of that it was a Jewish operation, you know?
Or you just talked about, you just went where the story took you, and it took you.
It just so happened. It just so happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, you know.
Yeah.
But like we weren't. Yeah. But we weren't openly screaming about Jewish power behind everything. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the World Economic Forum doesn't actually have any power, even though everything that they say somehow gets implemented almost instantly.
Is TRS saying that the WEF doesn't really have power?
Yeah. They don't have no actual power. These guys are just strawmen set up in their little Dieter from Sprockets costumes.
Yeah.
Take our arrows while Jewish power is just doing what Jewish power wants to do. And we're distracting by talking about Yari Havnevev or whatever the guy's name is, Nosferatu, the transhumanist guy. Yeah. That guy's amazing. The stuff that he talks about, like being able to hack humans and stuff, and people just eat that shit up.
Oh yeah. I know who you're talking about now. I heard.
And they like openly talk about the things that they want to do, and they openly talk about things like Ukraine is about to be the very first 100% digital country. Sri Lanka is going to be second. There's another one. I can't remember what the third one's going to be, but there's 3 countries are totally digital now, no currency, all digital, right? And like,
isn't India going that way? I thought I heard something about India. Like,
it was a big one. Yeah, it's like haha, BRICS my ass, right? Like all of a sudden, BRICS. What happened to BRICS there, LaRouche? That's a whole other story. But but like everything is going exactly the way the conspiratard has said it was going.
Yeah.
And in an exponentially faster fashion than we thought it was going to be going. But, you know, none of these people have any power, even though the World Economic Forum just wrote, you know, a paper, an article about, you know, digital currencies. Like, boom, 2 months later, boom, 3 countries have digital currencies. Boom, 6 countries have digital currencies. Boom, you know, like weird. No power, though. No power. We're just crazy Alex Jones tier conspiracy theorists.
And it either comes down to just some stupid juvenile, you know, you're not cool if you're a conspiratard type of mentality, or it might be that, like you're suggesting, that they've been paid off to say certain things and not say other things.
It's a combination of wanting to somehow be respectable, and I don't know how. Again, people have told them, it's like, how can you call people conspiracy theorists when you are pushing that the biggest conspiracy, the Holocaust, is fake? Like, to any normal person, crazy.
That's way more alienating than saying 9/11.
Yeah, if you said big, you can tell most normie, like you can go to most normal Republican states, most normal Republicans, and be like, and probably 2 or 3 out of 10 would be like, yeah, Big Mike's got a dick. If you were talking about Michelle Obama,
yeah,
Big Mike, and 2 or 3 of them would laugh and high five you, right?
Yeah, sure,
right. But if you were to talk about the Holocaust, you might get thrown out of church.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
But you could talk about Big Mike at the church potluck, though. You know.
Yeah.
That's totally right. That kind of thing is fine. So these people, they don't understand, and they seem to think that somehow that it is an intellectual. This is a leftist thing. Again, this is why they're liberals. They're racist liberals. It's a leftist thing to feel intellectually superior to people, and they feel that the Holocaust is an intellectually superior conspiracy to debunk, right? Because it takes Mike went over the minutia of the paint and the whatever for months. We did 2 episodes on the Holocaust back in 2017, got us kicked off of YouTube, but It was all the debunking that was necessary. I know several people that are like, dude, we played your Holocaust episode for my friends, and every single one of them is anti-Semitic now. Thank you. Like, dude, it doesn't take much to take the Holocaust apart. We did it in 4 hours, and it was fun, and it was, it was funny, and it was a lot of fun. These guys spent over a year during COVID going over the minutia of memos between generals and majors and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
Stuff that's completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time, just spinning people's time. And then you have the Star Trek thing, and it's just like, I think that like they're just wasting people's. I think it's just I don't know, just wasting people's time now.
What's the Star Trek thing?
They just constantly talk about Star Trek, constantly, like for the entire episode.
Really?
They've been doing it for months since the COVID thing. The Holocaust revisionism, meticulous Holocaust revisionism, and Star Trek, and a lot of people hate it. And because they have contempt for their audience, they just keep doing it. Yeah. Well,
I have no idea. Things had gone off the rails.
They got back into Fed posting. Jesse had a big, huge Fed post the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he went on. I mean, like, went off.
He said somebody needs to do something about blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, he's talking about the gays and the monkeypox.
Okay.
Which, hey, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with the sentiment of that stuff. I just don't think that on a public platform it's a very good idea.
It's probably not.
Right. But again, no shutdown. But whatever. Anyway.
Well, it's been really interesting, an interesting and wide-ranging conversation.
Yes.
With you, and would love to talk to you again sometime. And I'll be sure. I'm sure. I don't think you need any more. I think probably everybody in my audience knows about the Paranormies, but I'll nevertheless put up a link.
Yeah.
Y'all are on twice a week. Is that right?
Twice a week, live on Tuesday nights. We do the Nationalist Inquirer, which is our news-ish show, and then we post it as a podcast on Wednesdays, and then on the weekends we do a content show. You can check us out at paranormies.com. We have an RSS there. Plug our podcast into your favorite RSS, and they'll upload automatically.
And if you ever do a Pizzagate episode in the future, I did some research. I wrote a short, it's more like a long essay, a short book called Meta Pizzagate. I wrote in 2017.
Awesome. Yeah, if we ever go back into Pizzagate, I'd love to have you come on for that. That'd be cool.
Okay. Well, thanks for your time, and best of luck to you, and stay in touch.
All right. Take care.
You too.